This week for the outreach assignment, I decided to use the articles that I studied this week for my research summaries. And the first one was called Spillover Stress in Early Marriage, the Role of Self-Regulatory Depletion. And then the second one was called Stress Resilience in Early Marriage, Can Practice Make Perfect? And I love these articles because they actually had the same main researcher, which I have never had this semester yet. And so I thought that was cool because you could see the similarity of the two article, but you could also see where that co-reacher came in play and where their opinions and their research and all that made a big difference in the article as well. And so for this outreach assignment, I decided to share it with my mom. Even though it was about newlyweds, I also thought that it's important in all marriages. And my dad is a firefighter paramedic, and so this article, it talks a lot about stress and how the outside stresses that we experience in work and school can play a pivotal role in our marriage. And because of that, I thought that with my dad's occupation, my mom would be a good recipient to share this one too, because he does experience a lot of stress with his job, that he goes on a lot of calls, that he sees a lot of things and deals with a lot of things that bring home stress. And so it's important that we as a spouse know how to handle that kind of stress. And so as I shared with my mom, I kind of talked about how a lot of times we experience a lot of external stress. And this is what the article talks about, how we experience a lot of external stressors at work, and they influence what goes on internally. And so when we have a hard day at work or a hard experience with a coworker, or we have a difficult assignment that's weighing on us, a lot of times we have these experiences externally, and then we don't have time to process them internally before we go home from work or school or whatever. And so because of that, when we go home to our spouse, a lot of times they are on the receiving end of that stress. And so it can be really hard in a marriage when there's a lot of tension that comes, and it feels like unwanted tension because it's not between the two of them. And so this article talks about how you have to learn to understand that stress in order to make your marriage stronger. And when I shared this with my mom, she shared a lot of her own experiences of how they had to learn that in the beginning. They've been married for 25 years now, but she said that at the beginning of my dad's career that this was hard for them because he would come home with these stressors from work and he wouldn't know how to handle them. And then it would play a role in how they communicated with each other. And so she was saying how this article is really important where in the phase of life that I'm at to be able to learn about, so that I can learn that communication skills. When I presented it to her, she didn't really have any critiques or comments for me, but really more just like stories that coincided with the things that I shared from the article. But something that I wish I could have done better at is share more facts from the researchers itself. I feel like a lot of it turned into personal experience just because she could relate to it so much. But I would have loved to share next time, just learning to share more straight from the article rather than from what I took from it. Although that's important, I think backing it up with sources and citations is important as well. And that was my experience with the outreach assignment this week.